Ooh, oh, hey, we made it. Episode 66, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
Our first midweek
No,
podcast.
second midweek one. We did one once before.
We did?
Yeah,
Oh, shit. I
yeah.
forgot.
Maybe a month or so ago.
Oh, that was like a makeup one, though.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
still midweek.
that's true. That's true. I stand corrected, man. I want to see how these little short ones in the middle of the week do.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, we can kind of catch up, a little bit short, quick, to the point.
Yeah.
Got some pretty exciting things going on here. Got some new ink this week.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, my guy was like, "Hey, I didn't see you all winter." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, because I have to wear a long sleeve shirt then, and it doesn't feel good it rubbing up on the skin. In the spring and summer, I can wear a short sleeve shirt and be fine in terms of walking around the house. I mean, I deal with it at work, but I've got a covering over it while I'm at work, where to wear my long sleeve shirt. But at home, I'm not looking to do that. It doesn't feel good.
No, man. Yeah, it hurts. It'll pick some of the ink up if you get a little bit of scabbing. So then you need touch-ups.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you.
No, I always kept mine uncovered, and I don't know, man. I don't know what you do. This isn't what I wanted to talk about today, but screw it. This is where we start. We'll get over this real quick, though.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of first day and maybe the first 2 days. All I do to my tattoos is I take a washcloth or a small towel and put it in boiling hot water, let it soak, and then I just lay it on it to like draw the fluid out, keep it soft and pliable so it doesn't scab. And then I just let it go, man. I don't touch it.
Yeah, I don't do that. But that first day, because I get it done, I leave the entire thing wrapped. So I don't even touch it because they put all that goop on top of it, and I just let it go. And then for the next week, I basically wash it with just antibacterial soap separately 3 times a day. In the morning and at night, I just put ointment on it to not an antibacterial, but a lotion ointment to keep that thing moist.
Mm-hmm.
And I let it just breathe.
Yep, that's the thing, man. You rub it too much, it scabs. You pick the ink up, it screws it up. It's better just to not just let it heal naturally. You don't want it to heal fast, so you don't use shit like Neosporin.
Yeah, no Neosporin. I'm just using
the like a lotion.
Yeah, a Eucerin, basically. It's just a lotion.
Yep,
with a whole bunch of vitamin E and stuff like that in there, just to speed up its own natural healing process.
Yeah, and vitamin E is good because it helps break down scar tissue.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of scar tissue, let's talk about this developing scar, and it seems to have been developing for the last couple of years between Apple and Facebook.
One of the things that struck me when I was first reading about this was, here's Apple crying foul, and they're making such a big deal of it when they're doing the same thing themselves. Why is it that Apple has such a cult following that it doesn't matter who is in charge of Apple, the population just believes whatever is being said?
Well, what I find curious about it is so what we're talking about, for those that didn't see the news this week, is Apple said they're going to work to defeat Facebook or Facebook-like tracking. And it's just on the iOS, not on macOS, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was complete horseshit, for the simple reason that, like, at the same time, a news story came out that there was even more companies accessing user data through Facebook, and in fact, Apple was one of those companies.
Oh, of course.
So, it kind of reminds me of this disinformation that played out between Apple and the FBI with the San Bernardino shooting. The FBI was crying when indeed they seem to have already had tools that at least could get them some access. And Apple was crying because the government was compelling them to help. And we talked about that in a prior episode. And it just makes me stand back and wonder, well, I mean, were they really collaborating the whole time? And just like this, I mean, why is Apple's marketing, because it's marketing, why is their marketing pathway right now we're your new privacy platform. And instead of, and I think because of, they actually can't make good products anymore.
Well, I don't want to say they don't make good products, but I would say you are spoiled in what we were used to when they chose to make superior products in every which way. They were so fine down to the details of how everything had to look. They're still a lot better than, either they're a lot better than most, meaning that they've still come down, or has the rest of industry caught up a little bit? Might be a little bit of both. But I think this is the thing that's interesting for those, and it's been a little while since I've really paid too much attention to mobile, mainly because it bores me. Been there, done that. I don't care so much. So I'm going to go back based on some things that at least used to be true when it came to Apple iOS. I fully believe that the reason why Facebook and other companies like Facebook on the iOS platform were able to do the amount of tracking they were able to do because Apple provided them private APIs in which they would be able to call. A normal, regular app trying to submit for the type of data that Facebook was able to gather would be rejected in the App Store. They were given access to these private APIs, and if I had to guess, maybe Apple got something for that.
Sure, I agree with you, man.
Yeah. Now, even going a little bit further into this, can Apple prevent it? Yeah. Don't give them access to the APIs.
That's right.
It's that simple. Say, hey, no app can access geolocation. Or how about this, Apple? Why don't you take more of an Android permission model? Why don't you allow, when an app comes in, for me as a user to say, hey, I want nothing to be turned on unless I specifically go and permit it, or to ask me every single time an app comes in, which permissions do I want it to have? Why is it that, and this is like the thing, this whole like GDPR aspect, and this is just, it boils me up. Why is it that we have to make these permissions and what gets access to it is so difficult? Now, on the other side, and I will argue the other side of it. You don't allow me to have that data? Well, what is the revenue per subscriber today based on the ad modeling that they do? Okay, well, then the cost then if you don't want to allow these things is going to be that in order to use my service. But then people start crying foul for that.
Yeah, right.
But hey,
right.
This is a business. This is business. Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Apple, you name it, everyone's tracking data. Let's just be clear. If a company is not tracking data, then you clearly aren't trying to sell a product.
Yeah, well, right. And I don't think that's in and of itself a bad thing. I mean, tracking and collecting data, particularly if you're talking about from the enterprise perspective, I think is actually a good, healthy thing.
Sure.
How it's used and how it's sold, that's a different conversation. But I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So, if the GDPR goes like, hey, you have to give them, a sufficient alternative. Well, my alternative is this: for every customer I've got, my subscriber, it costs me $1,200. I get $1,200 of revenue. No problem. I'll turn all that off. Just give me $1,200, or whatever that number is. But
right.
then you'll see things like GDPR go away.
Yeah,
so people are like, oh, I want to use Facebook. Well, no system can work on not collecting revenue to be able to pay for the system. So,
well, because we probably agree that it's a silly piece of legislation, right?
Oh, it's a joke.
It's nonsense. It's grandstanding for the purposes of politicking and nothing else in my mind.
If I was, when I become CEO, I get some silly law like that. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm going to shut down operations that entire environment.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I just wouldn't deal with it. Exactly.
I'm not going to play your game. I have a service that's superior, product that's superior. You're going to play by my rules.
That's right.
I mean, common sense rules. Okay. You don't want to be tracked. I mean, I will do everything in my power to make sure that my company data is as secure as I can possibly make it. I can't attribute to 0 days, happening, but I can ensure that things are going to be patched in a timely manner.
Well, you know what? Look, man, and you've seen this. We've seen this like in big box stores like REI, where they take on like a co-op model, or even Kaiser Healthcare is
Yeah.
co-op for the, let's say, the workers, the physicians, the so forth and so on, right? Dude, I want to predict that in the next 5 years we'll see a co-op style data brokerage where, yeah, man, here's everything we're collecting. You can opt in or opt out, and the default should be opt out. And then if you opt in, we'll give you access to all the data just like anybody else would have had. And based on your tiered input, we'll actually allow you to profit share.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be 5 years. I think I agree that it's going to happen at some point. The reason why I don't know that I agree that it's 5 years is that people are still too sensitized to this privacy aspect and what it really means. I don't, we have too many people, I think, are still under this aspect of, oh my gosh, my data is out there. Well, yeah, you have to allow that your data to be there in order for you to get services.
That's right.
I think what's very likely to happen is we're going to see an available brokerage for authentication. So this way we don't have to use systems like Facebook to constantly do it so we can get more tracking data. I think we're going to see something. I like a Google Authenticator, but this is all they do. And people pay, I don't know, $20 a year. And hey, all your authentication goes through that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can federate it.
That's more likely to happen sooner. That's going to be the entry drug, I think.
I think so too. And it makes sense, man. Because it brings.
Yeah, I should patent that shit quick.
What, dude? We talked about this years ago. We called it a connector factory.
Yep.
And why not, man? It's perfect. And then you can have. Do you remember, like in our first couple doc classes, I would talk about this idea where I called it an authentication avatar?
Yeah.
Same idea. It's just me in cyberspace in the truest sense of that phrase, and that platform brokers through that avatar everything I want, input and output.
Yep. Well, I think that's going to be the next thing that's going to occur, because then we don't have to use social media for services of that nature. The idea is we want to eliminate the amount of passwords that we have, right?
Well, and pathways for authentication, yeah.
Right. So the more we can minimize that, the better off we're going to be.
So I'll say, I think within 5 years we'll start seeing a shift, and I'll go even more specific, and I'll tell you what I think is going to drive that. I don't think it's going to be social media platforms.
It'll be Elon Musk.
Well, no, maybe, but I think it's going to be a replacement for YouTube.
Yeah,
that's been coming for a while with the way Google through YouTube has been handling it. And I think we had a suggestion to talk about shadow banning through AI, and it kind of ties into this. Maybe we'll talk about that this Sunday or the following Sunday. I think that's what's going to drive it, man.
It's very likely. Shadow banning is interesting to me. Because I kind of go, why do it? Well, I think the reason why these organizations are doing it, they just don't align with their own political agenda. Because
the other thing real quick too, is because part of their valuation depends on their head count, right?
Yeah, sure. So the thing that gets me, one of the reasons why I got as a profession into security was because one of the companies I used to work for in my early days, they thought they were talking to a 14-year-old girl, and really it was an FBI agent, and I had to help this out. I said, I want to get into that. The amount of things of that nature that still go on today, and yet we're talking about things like, what is considered a assault weapon or not, what's military grade or not, and yet we know these things are happening and our elected officials are involved in it. Why are we not going after those human rights in our own country we're not talking about even high school kids, we're talking about those that are in their, preschool age to junior high. I mean, these things are happening and no one talks about it.
No.
And it's just, those things really kill me, because those are some really serious things. Why is it that our education system still today for funding still relies upon basic property taxes as the means for funding it. There's no way you can have a poor city ever be able to level set. I mean, here's the thing. You want to increase the overall capabilities of anything, you go to the bottom to raise your baseline.
That's right. Well, and you know, that ties back as we're going to wrap up here because we're going to keep this short. Yeah. It makes me wonder why nobody seems to be asking the obvious question, which is where we started with Apple and Facebook. Clearly, you gave Facebook special access, whatever that means. So why aren't you just removing it? Why do you have to make this special effort to try and stop that kind of tracking? Well, either because you're being disingenuous, which I think is highly likely. In fact, I think it's a fact. And even more gross is those special APIs may be so baked into the core of the OS that they have to rebuild it to get rid of it. They can't just turn it off.
They might be being disingenuous in a little bit. I think it's more so that it's don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. They also, and you touched on it, they need more subscribers. iPhone sales are down.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to do to increase sales? Oh, we are the privacy platform of choice. We have your best interest. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. But that ties back into your disingenuous comment. They are. But remember, Apple can say anything because they have a cult following.
Yeah. Well, and it makes me wonder why Silent Circle isn't jumping on this train saying, hey, wait a minute, we've been this way for years.
Oh, because they don't have people like us there that can help them actually describe what the platform should be the visionary, and help them to execute. Nor do they have anyone out, that's capable of that. So
that answers that question.
Primary reason. But I got to tell you, all this secure messaging stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's fun in some of the ways. It's a joke, because here's the thing. And, we only got a couple of minutes. As long as there are vulnerabilities in the SS7 network, no secure messaging platform can protect you, period. So if your goal is to prevent an entity with essentially unlimited funds of tracking you, you don't use a cell phone in any way, shape, or form.
That's right. That's right. Use a carrier pigeon.
Protect it. If you're trying to protect yourself against, the local police officer, doing something, maybe. Unlikely, because there's essentially 3 operating systems in that cell phone. The cell phone operating system, Apple, iOS, Android, your SIM card, and the baseband, which is, AT&T, Verizon, you name it. Right. All of those have to connect to the SS7 network. And then I can do whatever I want. So secure messaging.
Snake oil. Where's the Sultan?
He doesn't even know these things. I haven't taught him this level of details yet. He's not yet worthy. He hasn't made it past the 3rd ring yet.
Oh boy. Come on, Brandon. All right, man. Well, I think this is fun, dude. We get to cover something that's a little more current, a little more topical in the middle of the week. I like that.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Definitely, man. Next Wednesday or Thursday, we'll see. And
Wednesday, Thursday, no can do.
Okay, Wednesday works for me too, man. Everybody, I started putting a pinned schedule on my Twitter. We'll see how that works, and that way we can communicate through there, and we'll see how that goes.
Perfect.
I should put it on the channel page too, now that I think about it. Why didn't I do that? I don't know.
Sometimes our ideas only become to the forefront when we talk about them.
Well, that's why I like talking. That's why I like talking to you. It helps me think.
Yep. It's perfect.
As crazy as that is. Yeah. All right, man. That's 66. Done.
In the bag.
All right, everybody. See you Sunday, 8 a.m.
Yeah. 8 a.m. Sunday.
We'll do that. Later, everybody.